It's time for Righties Rage. Welcome back. Another day, another video. Now, on this video, during the House Appropriations Committee hearing on June 10th, 2025, Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur calls out Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth on his bizarre warrior ethos mantra that he never forgets to spout out in his speeches. Now let's go to the video.
Ms. Kaptur.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We welcome our guests. I come from a family of combat veterans going back a long time. And my comment is the use of certain words and what they imply. When I hear warrior ethos, and I hear it a lot from you, Mr. Secretary, I'm concerned. All the soldiers in our family, all of whom fought and received medals for their combat service, call themselves soldiers. Marines are trained to kill. In terms of domestic policing, our police and our National Guard at the state level, carefully used, but also our state police are used in civil enforcement, and they are good. I don't need any reply. I just am concerned about what those words you often utter actually do in people's minds and change the language we have used since the founding of this republic. So that is a concern of mine. I wanted to go to the General and Chairman, if I could. We've heard a lot this morning about defense industrial base. And this is something I ran for office on a long time ago. We have not made significant progress as a country in this regard. And the places that made things, whether they were machine tools, whether it was composite materials, were left behind. It's one of the reasons for the division in our society. So I am very interested in knowing what specifically and in which accounts, and I hope you can get this back to us within a week and a half, you are going to focus on in order to inject additional resources in the defense industrial base of this country. What will that look like? We are just successful now in helping steel to revive and some of our composite metals. 40 years ago, I wrote a title to the defense bill dealing with strategic metals. Nobody at Department of Defense cared, okay? So I'm interested in which accounts, if you could kindly get back to me on that, and when you say defense industrial base, budget-wise, in which accounts, what does that mean? All right, I don't expect you to answer it now. Can you tell me when you might get that information back to us?
Well, ma'am, you just said a week and a half, so I know the awesome humans behind me are scribbling madly to come back to that. Can I just make a quick comment? You know, I happen to be a lucky guy that served in the private sector for a while, and I ran a machine shop in Texas along with a metal finishing business. So when we talk about defense industrial base, I broaden that out to really the national industrial base. There are certain components that are made in the defense side, but as you articulate, ma'am, many others are made in the small machine shops out around this entire nation. When I talk about mobilizing our nation, I think of that national, not just defense industrial base. What do we have to do to create greater capacity all the way down the chain to include jobs at the local level for those people that build quality parts and deliver on time with shorter lead time and lower cost? And so I have great empathy for what you're talking about, and we'll get back to you just as soon as we can.
Yes, and General and Secretary, going back to the drone attack in Ukraine, a country that was invaded by the Russian dictatorship, starting in 2014. They've been at war for a decade.
Now, I like the way she said the Russian invasion. She didn't sugarcoat her words. She said exactly what people are thinking, regardless of how the far right is trying to make it like Ukraine was the one that invaded Russia. No, it was Russia that invaded Ukraine because they want Ukraine minerals and they want Ukraine's land. It's not the other way around. President Trump can't decide who's the wrong on a whim. You can't wake up and decide who's your friend and then decide that there's the better people. Russia invaded Ukraine. That's it. There's no other story to it. It's that simple. You can't change your mind every time the wind blows, every time you get a call from Putin with a birthday gift. No. Russia is the incursion, and she calls it right.
More than a decade. What they've done with drones is astounding. It's going to change warfare. One of my questions is, what are you doing to establish relations with Ukraine and not turn your back on them as an administration and help them win, help liberty win? This has implications way beyond the boundaries of Ukraine. Russia's got 11 time zones. I mean, this is the most important test of liberty for our NATO alliance in my lifetime, and we better help win. And that involves moving forward faster on drone technology. I'm very worried about our air bases where we have secure assets. Mr. Secretary, can we defend them today if they were to have a similar attack?
We're certainly very focused on that, ma'am. And we're learning every day from Ukraine. I think we would need to clarify what win means. This president is committed to peace. He's committed to stopping the killing. And he was not in office when it started in 2014. There were no additional incursions in his first term. And then under the previous administration, Vladimir Putin sought to take Ukraine. We're committed. This administration's committed to peace, to stopping the killing, and we think that serves
Did you just
American
leave
interests.
Ukraine, Mr. Secretary? Did you just leave Ukraine?
Young lady's time's expired, but if you can get
I did
back
not leave
to
Ukraine.
us on that.
No,
Have you visited Ukraine?
No, ma'am.
Oh, you see how she called him on that? Have you visited Ukraine? No. You're the Secretary of Defense. How could you not visit Ukraine that's being attacked by Russia? Because President Trump is buddies with Russia right now. He's buddies with Putin. Well, we see how his friendship goes, just like with Elon Musk. But I think he's brought Elon Musk back into the fold in the last few days because Elon Musk's upset because the peaceful riders have started destroying Teslas. Of course, he doesn't like that. But let's get back to this. You see how she called him out on that? She was like, have you visited Ukraine? How can you speak on Ukraine and you haven't even visited him? I mean, Pete he's busy hollering out slogans instead of doing work. This is like they say and stuff. Your actions prove more than your words. And that's what we're looking for, to see what you're going to do. I mean, drones have changed the war for some time now. So we know that drones can do astounding amount of damage. And Ukraine came up with something that changed the war. Unfortunately, they don't have the funds to continue that war. They do have minerals to sell. And that's why we're trying to get those minerals. We're supposed to have made this mineral deal. If we made this mineral deal with Ukraine, that means that United States is supposed to be protecting Ukraine. Not going with Russia because Russia and Putin is your friend today. I just wanted to show that video. Again, that was Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur, who calls out Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth on his bizarre warrior ethos mantra. Another good video. This is Righties Rage, and I'll see you.